I'm Dr. Sri Banerjee, core faculty for the College of Health Sciences and Public Policy at Walden University. And this video I'm recording on the mass shooting epidemic in America. I record this video on a somber note from the mass shootings that have occurred over the weekend, 3 at least, all across America. And so people are trying to grapple with what it is that we need to do to try to stem the tide and put an end to this once and for all. So I conducted a qualitative analysis and created some word clouds to better understand this problem. I'm a geospatial expert, so here's a map to try to better understand this on a geographical level. So there's certain areas that seem to have a higher preponderance of mass shootings than others, and so there may be locational level and structural determinants that make it more common in certain places and not others. Look, in the last 3 to 4 decades, this has really increased in frequency, and so there needs to be a lot more policy level interventions that address this. So even if we look in Southern California, there's huge pockets of mass shootings, but then also Southern Texas, as we witnessed in Uvalde County. Also, we see recently in Buffalo, so in New York, we see pockets too. So trying to better understand. Now, what I did is I went to this comprehensive database, starting all the way back in 1982, looking at every single mass shooting incident and event, and then taking all of those, synthesizing the description, and creating kind of a word cloud from that. So that's what's coming up next. But in this first pie chart, what I did is took each one of the locations and tried to determine what was the setting. And initially I was thinking that school shootings were going to be the most frequent, but actually workplace was 37% of the mass shootings, which was surprising to me. Then of course 6% is in religious places. So unfortunately the synagogue mass shooting in Pittsburgh, and then also in 5% of the time it's through the military. But 37% of course of these is other. So that's looking at 129 incidents. If we look at the age distribution now, here's what we find. The mass shooting perpetrators, alarmingly, I think this is striking, is that they're younger in age. So between the years of 11 to 20, there's 10 incidents, and then look at this, going from about 20 to 28, that jumps up to 35, and then if you take a look at the higher age groups, there's another peak between 36.8 and 45.4 age group. So it drops off slightly, and then again the age group, between this age group and then after 45, things seem to kind of stabilize. So that's the age distribution of people in the last 40 years. And these types of, this gives us a better understanding within the life course, the structural determinants that seem to affect not only individuals, but that interaction between the individual, workplace, society, environment. All of these things play a role. And think about which one of the 5 social determinants of health apply here. In fact, more than one can apply very easily. So now looking at the word cloud. So what I did is the whole data set, I just went to NVivo and kind of with some modifications entered it into this automatic generator. And so from that, initially there were just an understanding of what the data set is highlighting. So there are, of course, guns like 9mm caliber. These things were highlighted. There's some websites, so .com and HTTP, but also semi-automatic, which is a big problem because these are things that can be concealed easily and are brought into some places. And then, of course, rifle, which is a problem. Handguns. So specific guns are an issue. And then if you look at some of these other words, unfortunately, suicide is a byproduct of this as well. Most of the perpetrators commit suicide or experience this. And then going in and looking at some of the other types of guns, the Glock and pistol, and all of these. So as you can see, this data set has many specific examples, and this will give you clues. So this is a technique which you can use really to understand what types of research questions you can synthesize. So I can already see, like for instance, settings of mass shootings, like church or home or things like that. So this one can give you clues as to how you want to construct your research question. So now dividing this up into looking specifically at the word cloud of the incidents and what was the byproduct of that. Well, you quickly start to kind of see patterns in terms of the setting, like school, and then you can also see some of the individuals, veteran and then girlfriend, maybe involved, military, and then officer, fatality, fire. So these are all various types of words that you can be thinking about when thinking about the description. Also wounded and so then now in this slide, what I did is I'm kind of trying to delve deeper into the psychological profile of the individual that was the mass shooter, trying to understand, for instance, psychiatric is in there, understanding, it says insanity, problems, workers, parents, often going back to early life, psychopathy, aggressive. So some of these words seem to rampage, homicidal, So these words give us delusions. So these are words that are powerful choice words, which characterize kind of the profile of individuals or even societal conditions that allow for individuals to behave in certain ways that they may normally not. So I urge you to stop on this slide and kind of take a brief moment to see how these words make you feel, and how they're lined up, and any ideas that you can think of to conduct research from this. So now to the qualitative analysis of the term employee. Remember I said that a significant percentage, the highest percentage, came from the workplace. I wanted to kind of look at this a little bit better. So the types of employment was transportation, city park, and pharmacy. So let's take a look. So for former employee, there were 2 cases of this. Disgruntled employee, 4. Fired employee, 1. Pharmacy employee, 1. And then fellow employee, 4. So this is how the descriptors work. And so just understanding the different dynamics of employment and how that affects individuals, not only psychologically, but the structural determinants surrounding that is especially important when thinking of even firearm usage and mass shootings. So if there's a psychological profile of an individual that may not allow them to be stable enough to own a gun, then this might be something that might be worth considering before allowing ownership of guns. So there's specific ways that we can allow gun control to work at this problem. So now going into some of the specific references of employee within mass shooting descriptions. All of these are very tragic. Juan Lopez, 32, confronted his former fiancée, Dr. Tamara O'Neill, before shooting her and opening fire on others at the hospital, including a responding police officer, Samuel Jimenez, and a pharmacy employee, Dana Les. So it's very tragic how these occur. I'm not going to read through these, but all of these, but it's for instance, Snowchia Mosley, 26, reportedly a disgruntled employee shot her victims outside the building and on the warehouse floor. She later died from a self-inflicted gunshot at a nearby hospital. And then Randy Stair, a 24-year-old worker at Wise Grocery, fatally shot 3 of his fellow employees. So this is all very tragic, and it's a lot of times former co-workers or fellow employees. For instance, the famous incidences with UPS. So these are some important aspects to be thinking about, not only individually in terms of the individual behavior, but also understanding how structural determinants, environmental factors, social context mold and exacerbate the modern public health emergency of mass shootings. Thank you for listening.